Alright, guys, let's get the party fucking started. We got UFC Phoenix coming up on Sunday, which is weird that it's on a Sunday, but I don't know. Sometimes they switch these things up. Um, really good card, man. Australia, UFC Australia just passed. We had the unfortunate situation with Whitaker, and then you had Gastelum running around with the belt, which a lot of people had a lot of we're annoyed by that, and I could see where he was coming from, why he was doing that. I think it was a little bit of a business move there to try to kind of force that hand. Like, listen, I'm the guy. Don't try to have somebody pass me up right now. Like maybe Adesanya was gonna be able to pass him up if he had a great performance, and the UFC was like, well, we kind of want this guy next. So I think Gastelum was kind of playing his cards safe, trying to make some noise a little bit, being that he couldn't get the fight, and keep his stay as the title contender, which I hope that's what happens. I hope that Whitaker heals up, properly and can come back strong. And I think they should really make that fight between him and Gastelum. I really was really interested in seeing that fight. I was bummed out that we weren't going to be able to see that. And it was Adesanya had a good performance, but against an old Anderson Silva that's not washed up, but not the same Anderson Silva as he used to be. Although he looked great in this fight, and I think that was a testament to the style matchup. You have Adesanya, a tricky, funky guy in there with great Muay Thai striking, and Anderson Silva knows the guy's not going to shoot in on him, take him down, so that allows him to be free spirited in there and let go of his skills the way that he has in the past, but he's just not the same aggressive finisher as he used to be. It looked like he tried to put pressure on Adesanya. I think he had his moments there, but not the same Anderson Silva when he was coming in as a champion, taking out everybody in his way. That was a different guy. He's 43 years old. He's still competing at the highest level, so props to him, but Adesanya is in his prime right now, and he was able to kind of pick him apart a little bit, land the cleaner shots, and come out with the victory. So, props to Adesanya. The guy's witty. He's quick with his words. He's quick with his striking, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next. I'm sure he's going to wait it out and get the next title shot after Gastelum. I would really like to see one more fight. I'd like to see him fight maybe Chris Weidman, a real test, who's a real high-level wrestler, or Romero and the winner of Romero and Costa. Is that his name? Yeah, Paulo Costa. Yeah, that would be another good matchup. Well, good fight at least for the fans. I don't know if that'd be good for Adesanya to try to take that risk again before the title, but we'll see what they do. I think they got a star on their hands. I think they're going to wait it out and give Adesanya the next shot. After Gastelum, of course. But moving on to this Sunday coming up, UFC Phoenix. Amazing card. Probably better than that last one in Australia. And that was a pay-per-view. But this is the first full ESPN card. The early prelims are on ESPN Plus. And we got a familiar guy I know, Burrell, on there. Crazy to see that guy go from what he was known as one of the potential best fighters in the world, pound for pound, to a guy fighting on the early prelims against Luke Sanders. It's just crazy how times change, I honestly feel Burrell's going to get the win in this fight. I know he's on, a 3 or 4 fight losing streak, and it's just tough to see. A lot of people writing him off, but I think Luke Sanders is the type of matchup where it's not a guy that throws a lot of high volume, that really puts a lot of pressure on you. He's a solid fighter all around, but I think that it's a fairly decent matchup for Burrell to get that first win after, taking a bad losing streak. And I could see him kind of eking out the decision maybe, or even possibly getting a finish on Luke Sanders, who's been knocked out as of recent by Sukumta. And, Burrell hasn't really been shown a lot of confidence in himself in the cage as of late, and I think that he just needs to let go of that and kind of pick up the pieces and forget the past and just try to be that Burrell that he used to be and let go of everything. Go for those spinning back kicks to the head and go for those flying knees and be a little bit more aggressive. He seems a little more hesitant now, and I think that has a lot to do with losing to Dillashaw, getting manhandled by him twice, and then having to face other guys that, Aljamain, myself, and other guys that have put a lot of pressure on him and hit him with a lot of hard shots. So we might see Burrell bounce back in this fight. I'm going to call it. I think Burrell's going to get it done. I think he's either going to get a decision or possibly an earlier stoppage because he seems to fade towards the later rounds. So I think he would have to get a stoppage in the first or second round, or else he starts getting tired as of late and slowing down in the third round, and that's when his opponents are starting to pick it up and put it on him. So we'll see. I think Burrell gets the decision. Moving on to preliminary card. Great prelim fights. We got Holtzman versus Nick Lentz. Holtzman's been showing a lot of pressure as a fighter, a lot of high-level pressure with wrestling and striking mixed together. He's really good at changing levels at the right times in these fights, and he's an aggressive fighter. Really strong fighter, really physically imposing for the weight class, and Nick Lentz has bounced back and forth between 145, 155, but he looks better at 55. The weight cut might have took a toll on him. He's got a sick guillotine. I like the guillotine. I like seeing guys hit the guillotine. It's a cool choke to see. Nick Lentz is amazing at it. You don't want to keep your head on that outside and get caught. I guarantee he's going to go for a guillotine once in this fight, at least once, because I think Holtzman will shoot eventually. But I give the striking edge to Holtzman. I think it's pretty close, pretty evenly matched. But I think Holtzman has the quicker, straighter punches, and I think he's got a little bit longer range. He'll be able to hit the target a little bit more efficiently than Nick Lentz. But I do see the fight going to the ground at some point. I just think Holtzman's a little bit too smart, a little bit too strong down there. He's good with positioning. He's a really good wrestler, and I think that he'll be able to get the job done against Nick Lentz by decision. Kind of mixing it up, strikes to takedowns, overwhelming him a little bit with the pressure and getting the decision done. Andrea Lee, Ashley Evans-Smith. That's a good matchup right there for the women's division. Andrea Lee's that girl. I think she wears like the cowgirl hat, whatever. And Ashley Evans-Smith. Both tough women, good fighters. Don't know a lot of whole much about them both. I've seen more of Ashley Smith's fights, and she's just a grinder. She stays really tough in there. She could take shots and give shots. She has a good chin. And I'm going to have to go with Smith. I think she's going to get the job done by TKO or decision. Benito Lopez, Manny Bermudez. I'm interested in this fight. It's a good bantamweight fight here. Manny Bermudez, he's a fucking real nice guy, man. I see him all the time. I know he fought for CES. He actually fought my brother. And he has some really slick jiu-jitsu. And I think he's got a good mentality for the sport. He's a confident guy. He's still working on his striking, but his jiu-jitsu is, is where he's an expert. And he knows how to take guys there and pass guard and land some ground and pound and find that submission. He's done it over and over, time and time again. And Benito Lopez is more of a fancy guy who's willing to throw some flying shit and spinning shit, and he gets a little bit reckless in there. He's a really tall guy for the weight class. I think that he might have a little bit better striking than Manny Bermudez. He might be able to land some wild stuff out off the get-go, but I think that's ultimately going to be his downfall. I think it's going to leave him open to takedowns. I think Bermudez is going to stay smart on the feet. He's going to work his way inside, get the clinch, get a trip, get a takedown, and find the submission. I'm going with Manny Bermudez by submission. Aljamain Sterling, Jimmy Rivera. One of the hardest fights to break down and to call and to predict, to be honest, on this card. We got two opposite styles. Aljamain, a funky guy who likes to move around the cage, switch stances, throw a lot of kicks at you, keep you guessing. Leg kicks, head kicks, push kicks, snap kicks, body kicks. all his kicks are coming really fast and from weird angles. It's hard to fight a guy like that when you're the guy that wants to get inside and work your dirty boxing on him and maybe get some takedowns and try to ground and pound. But Aljamain has really good defensive wrestling, and once he gets in the clinch, he's amazing at taking your back and causing scrambles and ending up in a better position. And his jiu-jitsu has improved each fight. It looks like he's getting better and better on the ground. Same with his striking. Looks like he's getting a lot more comfortable and confident on his feet, but that's been something that's been taking him time to get to that level where he feels he's ready to exchange with guys at the highest level and be confident about it and comfortable about it. So I've seen changes there where he looks like, he's actually throwing a little bit heavier hands. His kicks have always been on point, but his boxing is where he's starting to pick it up. He's starting to, really throw some combinations and punches and bunches, and he's still smart about it. He keeps his range. He uses his legs to keep his range. He has great dexterity in his legs. He gets those legs up there fast. So it's hard to get inside on a guy that knows how to keep you outside. That's a really smart way to fight people. You don't have to take much damage. Of course, he lost to Marlon Moraes, but that was more of an accidental knockout. It didn't seem like he got outclassed, or it was like he got outsmarted on the feet or anything like that. He shot a wild shot from the outside, which typically Aljo doesn't do that. He's usually the guy that gets takedowns from the clinch and off the cage and in scrambles where he's a well-rounded grappler, which is wrestling and jiu-jitsu kind of put together. I think that's where he excels. Jimmy Rivera, short, stocky, strong, very smart fighter, very well trained. He doesn't open himself up to a lot of himself up to a lot of ways where the opponent could take advantage. He's very smart in there, keeps his hands up, good footwork, keeps his base. He doesn't really switch stances or get crazy with his movement. He stays in the pocket. He stays focused. He's a pressure fighter. He likes to get inside and work his boxing. He uses very smart leg kicks. He's been using that calf kick to a lot of guys, trying to slowly beat you up, slowly drown you with his points. And eventually, if he catches you, he has a lot of power. He could put guys out. But I wouldn't say he's the most power striker, but he does have power in his hands, and he does throw a lot of punches and bunches. He mixes it up really well, going to the body, to the head, and you got to watch out for that. You don't want your back against the cage against Jimmy Rivera, where he's in front of you, he's pressuring you, he's cornering you off, and he's throwing high volume, and your back's against the cage. You got nowhere to go. I don't think Aljo's going to get stuck back against the cage like that. Aljo does like to stay in the outer perimeter and kind of use his kicks to keep you away, but I don't think he's going to end up in a position where his back is actually stuck against the cage and Rivera's teeing off on him body, head, and, really hurting him. I just don't see that happening. I see Aljo being successful with his striking. I see him kind of frustrating Rivera. I think at some points in the fight, Rivera will land some hard shots on him, and he'll find his way in, because he does that with everyone. He fought Dodson last, and that's a hard fucking guy to hit. And the guy's a jittery motherfucker running around the cage, and he darts in and darts out, and it's like, how do you find that guy? But Rivera had some success against him. He kind of stayed patient, waited, and once Dodson darted in, he found his counter shots, and he likes to counter like that. If you're a guy that comes in, he'll wait, he'll let you throw, and he'll throw back right away. 3 punches, 2 punches, whatever it is. In my opinion, the fight's most likely going the distance. If it doesn't go the distance, I could see a scenario where Aljo creates a grappling exchange and can get his back or get some kind of submission. But I think Jimmy Rivera is a little bit too smart to get caught up in that. I think he's going to keep the fight in a striking realm, but I think Aljo's going to be able to outpoint him with his distance and with his kicking. I think that's going to be the key to this fight. Aljo's kicks are most likely going to win him the rounds and win him the fight. I'm going to go with Aljamain Sterling by decision. Moving on to the main card. Another fight that, man, if you're a bettor, do not bet on this fight, because this fight is too fucking close. Both of these guys are very, very evenly matched. Andre Fili, Miles Jury. Pause. Little espresso, little MCTs, little half and half. You know how we do it, baby. In the crystal glass. Chill. Man, this fight's one of the hardest fights to pick too. Feely versus Jury. Jury, I think, is coming off that loss to Chad Mendes, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he fought after that, but he got TKO'd by Mendes, who's a different fighter than Feely, but they fight from the same camp. So maybe they took something from that. You know, you never know. Maybe they looked at that tape. They gave Feely some information about what they saw in that fight, which it wasn't that long of a fight. But, you know, Chad Mendes was able to take advantage of that. He's a short, stocky, explosive fighter. Feely is a very elusive, long fighter who uses his range really well. He's really good with his movement. He's good at switching stances as well and throwing a lot of flick punches out there, a lot of head kicks. And he does some tricky stuff out there. Miles Jury, though, he's more of a basic fighter, but in a high-level way. He has the basics down. And he stays in there. Long fighter as well, but I think Feely uses that range a little bit differently, where he gets low in his stance, so he kind of shortens his range, but he flicks a lot of angles out there with his punches, and he'll follow up with head kicks right behind the punch. So, for example, he'll flick a jab out, and he'll come right over the top with the same side head kick, and that's very hard to see. It's a disguisal punch. So I like to use that sometimes too. It's really hard. You're actually not trying to land the punch. You're just trying to distract the guy with it, trying to blind his eyes and come right over with the head kick, literally right after that punch gets in his eyes. That head kick's kind of coming right behind it. So Andre Feely uses that a lot. And I also feel like Feely's a really smart guy at winning points. He's not really known to be the biggest finisher. He has a couple finishes, I think, by TKO. I just don't see Jury being able to find a finish in this fight as far as submissions go. I feel like that's kind of canceled out. I feel like this fight will mostly stay on the feet, if not the whole fight. And I think that Feely will be the more active guy. He'll probably be throwing a little bit more volume, and I think that'll get him the decision. I'm going with Feely by decision. Vincent Luque, Brian Barbarina. Barbarina is one of those guys that just the one word you could say is tough. You know, he's not really like the most fancy striker, the most athletic guy. He's not really a really fast guy. He's not the best at one thing, but he's just really tough. He's really game. He stays in there. He grinds out. If I was gonna say one thing was his best tool, it would probably be his durability. You know, he's a grinder. He's able to take shots and get in your face. He gets in the clinch. He throws good, dirty boxing in the clinch. He's good at taking you down. He's good at ground and pound. He's good everywhere, but he's just not great in one area where you're like, wow, look at that striking. Look at that takedown. Look at that jiu-jitsu. He's just one of those guys that he's hard to put away, and he's really good at staying in there and taking shots and still being dangerous as the fight goes on, even when you think he might be out. But Luque is that talent, that guy that a lot of people have their eyes on, that they're like, this is the next big thing. This guy's going to be doing something in this division, in the welterweight division. So I'm excited to see how Luque deals with a really really tough guy in Barbarina, a guy who won't go away easy. I still think that Luque is the type of guy at a level of striking where he's gonna find his home, and he's gonna put a TKO on Brian Barbarina. I think in either the first or second round. I'm going with Luque. Boom! We got Chrome Gracie making his debut. I don't know much about this guy, but when you got the name Gracie, watch out for submissions, right? I mean, we know that. But Alex Caceres is a funky guy in there, man. The guy's slick, slippery. He's funky. He's a scrambler. He's hard to deal with. He switches stances, and he does some really cool shit in there. He's a fun guy to watch. I don't know much about Chrome Gracie striking. I've heard that he's a really tough guy, that he's aggressive. But I think ultimately this fight's going to end up on the ground at some point. Alex Caceres is not shy about going to the ground. He throws up a lot of submissions himself, but I think that if you're going to go submission for submission with Gracie, you're going to have some problems. And I got to go with Gracie by submission in this fight. I mean, that's probably most likely what's going to happen. Cheers to the Gracie fucking heritage. Courtney Casey, Cynthia Calvillo. Calvillo's the favorite. She's a mean girl in there. But Casey's a big girl for the weight class. And she's showing a lot of skills in there. You know, very well-rounded fighter. I think both of these girls are really well-rounded. I would give the advantage to Calvillo as far as aggression goes and being able to finish the fight. More of a finisher. And I think that Courtney Casey has the better striking. Maybe just barely edges out the striking realm. But it's really not much of a difference. I think this fight's very evenly matched. I do think the fight will most likely go to decision because Casey is not a girl that is easy to finish. She doesn't go away. She's very, very competitive on the feet. She's hard to take down. But when she is taken down, I think she shows a little bit of weakness there on the ground, and I think that's where Calvillo could take advantage because we've seen her with some slick submissions as of late. And what do you guys think? I don't know. I keep seeing my fucking empty space here, this tooth right here. Thanks to Jimmy Rivera back in Bellator fucking years and years ago. Uppercut, boom, tooth comes out. It was like this long. It was in my mouth. I'm like, what the fuck is in my mouth? I don't know what that is. Definitely not my mouthpiece. I spit it out. Oh, it was my tooth. Great. What do you think, guys? Should I put a gold tooth in here? Should I get a little solid gold right here? A little shine to match the jewelry? I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. Or should we just leave it? Fuck it, right? Gives you character. Back to the fights. Courtney Casey, Calvillo. I got a parlay on this card. I just took a risk. I threw $20 on an 8 pick parlay, which is highly unlikely to win. But I've had fight cards where I've had 9 out of 12 right, or 10 out of 12, or even almost all of them. I think I've had 11 out of 12 before. So I'm going to take the fucking risk because that's a $1,000 payout for $20 risk. Why not? And I picked Courtney Casey because I think the fight's going to go to decision, and I think Casey's going to land the more crisp shots on the feet, and I think she might have the better cardio, and I think that's a big thing, man. You don't know. Sometimes you go into these fights, you're the better fighter, you're the better wrestler, you're the better striker, but the other person's better conditioned, and that wins the fight. Sometimes conditioning wins fights at this high level because they're both high level, they're both good everywhere, but the more well-conditioned athlete wins the fight. And I think Casey's going to get it done. James Vick, Paul Felder. Another fight where you're like, who the fuck do I pick? But you know what? The last fight that James Vick was in, he got knocked out clean. And I could say that I think that does something to a guy. I think that you got to deal with that. You got to get over that. You got to switch your mindset back to what it was before that. I think that's really important, and you just never know what a guy's going to be like after a bad knockout like that. James Vick's known to be a guy who stays on the outside, he uses his range, really tall, lengthy guy for the weight class, and you got a guy like Paul Felder who's got really nasty elbows, nasty clinch, nasty knees, nasty Muay Thai kicks, everything, spinning techniques that come out of nowhere when you least expect them. And he's actually improved on the ground. You know, he takes guys down, he lands ground and pound, he avoids submissions really well. And I'm really impressed with Paul Felder. I like watching him fight. Really exciting guy to fight. James Vick is amazing too. He's been an underrated guy his whole career. What is he, 9-1 in the 155-pound division, which is probably the most stacked division there is. You know, James Vick is a smart fighter. He doesn't really take too many risks. You know, I think in that last fight, Gaethje just knew how to work his way in with the footwork and kind of glide in and get close enough to land that big shot. And Gaethje has a lot of power in his hands. He has one-punch knockout power. Not a lot of guys have that in that division. Not everybody has that. Felder's not really known to be that guy. He's a guy that'll fucking grind you out and land some elbows and cut you up and take you down and ground and pound you and make you suffer in there. So I could see this fight becoming a bloody fight. The thing about Vic, though, is he has really, really slick submissions. So if Felder does get caught up on the ground, he's landing some ground and pound. You just got to be careful of those chokes. I know Vic could throw up some triangles. He's a little bit better with the Darces and the Anaconda chokes, I think. And that usually happens when a guy's shooting in or a guy gets caught up in a scramble on the bottom. Vic's not known to shoot in on guys, so I don't think he's going to be on top of Felder's head like that in a position where he could sink in an anaconda. I see the fight mostly staying on the feet because I don't think Vic really is going to look for a takedown. I think he's confident on the feet. He likes to cut guys up. He's aggressive. And part of the parlay, I got to go with Felder. I think he's going to be just a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more dangerous in there, and I think he's going to get the job done by TKO. Cain Velasquez, Francis Ngannou. What's to happen in this fight? Francis Ngannou showing his weakness in wrestling. Cain Velasquez, one of the most gritty fucking wrestlers there is in the heavyweight division. One of the fastest guys there is at mixing it up from boxing to takedowns, and one of the best guys as far as cardio goes. That's where Ngannou is showing weakness. Cardio, wrestling, takedown defense, and it's really a case of that first round. Can Cain Velasquez avoid that big shot? How does he look after so much time off? I don't think we're going to see a slowed down Cain Velasquez. I don't think we're going to see a much different Cain Velasquez. I think he's in the gym training with world champions like DC. And he's going to take his time. He took his time to make his comeback, and I think he did it smart. You know, he's had injuries in training, and now he's back. And I think we're going to see vintage Cain Velasquez. I think he's going to come out fast. I think he's going to be a better striker. He just has to avoid that power shot, and that's it. He's going to have a lot more volume. I think he's going to take a shot pretty fast in the fight. I think probably in the first minute, we're going to see Cain Velasquez work his dirty boxing, his inside boxing into a shot, take Francis down, and I think that's where the fight's going to change. You know, I think Cain Velasquez is a guy that's going to be able to keep him down and land some crazy fucking ground and pound. Stipe took him down, but played it really smart and didn't really risk with any ground and pound. He didn't want to let Francis get up. I think Cain Velasquez is going to unleash on this guy on the ground, and I think he's going to get it done by TKO ground and pound. Maybe not the first round, but I think second or third round. 5-round fight, so if you know Cain Velasquez could take that shit all the way to the 5th round, grinding it out like that. Strikes to takedowns, ground and pound, pass guard, keep ground and pounding. He'll go all day, so you don't want that fight. If you're Francis Ngannou, you want to end that fight in the 1st or 2nd round. I think Cain Velasquez is going to get it done either later TKO, 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe if Francis can stay in there, it goes decision and Cain Velasquez gets it done. But I think the fight's going to be a finish. I don't think it's going 5 rounds. I'm going to go with Cain Velasquez by ground and pound TKO, 2nd round. And that's it. That's the card right there. UFC Phoenix. We got it on Sunday. I'm going to have some fight news coming out soon, so stay tuned. I'll be back in May. And that's it for today. Follow me on Instagram, BrianBoom135. Follow me on Twitter, BrianBoom135. Check me out. I'll be posting training footage. I'll be doing more of these Boom breakdowns. And thanks for the support, guys. Boom! Let's go.